Hi everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen during this little time of lockdown, and welcome back to another session with putting long hair up with Electric London. So you're probably getting used to my model by now. A couple of rules I gave you before, which we'll go through. Once you are ready to do your style, if you're doing something where you're putting the hair up, make sure you start to get the hair moving in the direction you want right from the beginning. So with the look that we're doing today, we're working with a high ponytail, and if you're wanting it to be very, very smooth, sort of like for a wedding, for any event where you just want everything in place, start, as I've said before, get your dryer and work down the hair, including through the back, and just blow dry everything up first, just to get it into position. So you can either use your cloud mousse, you could use your smoothing cream. Really doesn't matter. What you want to do is make sure that you get that hair elevated into the position that you want. Because quite often now, you'll see when people do ponytails, there's always little bits missing. Now, if you're pulling it out, which we'll do today a little bit, you know, that's fine. That's an afterthought. That's something you're doing for the look, but you're deciding to do that after you've got the initial ponytail in. But if you want it to be really, really smooth, then you want to get the hair in the position that you want. So through the back, you want to make sure that you're blow drying that hair up from the beginning before you even think about pulling it into place and getting the elastic on, because that's how it'll stay really nice and smooth for you. Okay, that's that lesson over. So once we decide, we're doing a style today that is going to be a top knot. It's going to be, you know, you've got the messy top knots going on. Everyone's putting their hair up into that sort of thing. But we're doing one that's a little bit more together, and again, you can dishevel it as much as you want. We're not working with rollers, so again, I'm working you into this, so we'll gradually do more classic stuff using hot rollers, using irons, etc. But once you get these few elements together and you feel more comfortable, then you know the world's your oyster. You can move ahead from there. So we've got a high ponytail. We're working up to the crown. And then once we've got that in place, we just used a little bit of C7 around the hair just to lightly hold it. And I'd already put a little bit more on. And then if you want, as we've said, if you want to pull some of this out so that it's not so together, that's fine. That's a good time to do it now, because you don't really want to be doing that once we've got this top knot in place, because otherwise you could start pulling areas of it out. And so just for now, going around and I'm pulling that out. If you're keeping it really smooth and clean, then as I say, do that from the beginning. Put some spray on. You can use a little bit of your rose oil as well, just to get that real nice shine, because again, some of this is going to be covered up. So do it now, get it in place, and then move forward. Okay, so we've got the ponytail in. It's sitting in, we've pulled areas out so that it's got a looser feeling to it, and now we're going to work on the hair itself. So we are going to back comb, but you're not going to back comb very, very extensively, because you're not splitting this into curls or anything. We're just going to be wrapping this. So take a section, and yes, I have got layers, but it is going to work out, and I'll take you through that. You'll see me doing that as we go through. So back combing just into the roots. That hair's dropping away, that's fine, and then laying it forward. I'm going to use a little C7 as I go. And apologies for the other video yesterday, because I know, or whatever day you get it, I was leaning across myself because I was using the kitchen table instead of using this little stand I have on the side. So I may have been blocking, but hopefully not so much that you couldn't see what was going on. Okay. A little bit more back combing again, and we're back combing so that we're pulling the hair apart. There's different back combing where you're going into the roots and you're really just firming up the roots, but what we're doing here is we're opening the hair out. We're separating and opening the hair out. Don't take too much at a time. You know, you can take too little, but it'll just mean it's going to take you longer to get where you want to be. But basically just get that back combing in, and then every now and then just use a little C7. Because the hair is soft, because it's been washed, you know, it's going to have need maybe a little bit more spray. If the hair is not clean, which is brilliant when you're putting long hair up, you can just most probably use less product at this stage. But I just want to make sure that I get that through and into the hair. Working right the way back till we run out of hair. It's a fairly quick style to start building up, but I personally think it looks really cool because it can be really, really classy and classic, or it can be very disheveled and modern. So again, it works really well. So if you're thinking of long hair as just old-fashioned and you want to make sure that you bring it into now, these sort of looks work really well, because so far each look that I've done can be very, very classic, very sort of period, or very sophisticated, or they can be brought down to a level where you're doing them, as I say, with a more disheveled finish, which works really well for a lot of people today that don't want that ultra finish look. The biggest thing with long hair is it going to stay up? Is it going to stay in place, even if it's a messy look or if it's a clean look? So that's your biggest thing you want to think about. Now, 1 or 2 light brushes on the underneath, but the biggest thing is to get this surface area as wide as possible. So you just want to keep working on the outside. Now you put the back combing in, and I'm using a boar's bristle brush, to make sure that stays smooth. You don't want nylon at this stage because it'll most probably make the hair start lifting and flying, which you don't want. Okay, so that's smoothed out. Now I'm gonna over exaggerate this. I love height with these sort of looks, and so I want to make sure that I get that this time. And so what we're going to do right now is I'm going to pull this around to the opposite side. So we're grabbing all the hair, pulling it around, and then pulling it over the top of itself. And now I'm going to come around and smooth this out again. So I haven't put any pins or anything in yet. We're just smoothing this hair around. And as you do that, you'll see on the opposite side that it's beginning to get a really nice smooth shape. So you're seeing this from both sides now. And now I will start to put a few pins in to hold the shape. So just 1 or 2 pins on this side. We're going to go low to the bottom, and they're just going to sink in underneath. You'll find that they will just hide themselves on the underneath. So I've got 2 pins, 1 in the side, 1 in the top. Now I can let go, but I don't want to. But it means that it's firm enough that you can work through. So now let's try and get the angle so that you can see what I'm doing each time. So now we're coming round. I always think this is good to get a little bit of spray on. Grabbing from the underneath, make sure you've got everything. And my thumb is still in the center of this. It works, it's almost like doing dough. You're kneading and bringing your shape into place. But by holding this hair isn't, the top hair is not going to fall over the top of the shape. It's going to stay in place. So I'm now going to drop that. I'm coming around. Combing these ends, spraying again. And now just going to lightly lift this up. So now I'll twist this around each time so you can see the way the shape's building. Bringing this around. And remember again what I said about tail comb. It's your smallest finger. You can use this to go in, shape these little hairs around as you go. It's always like a modern like Holly Go Lightly, if you ever saw Breakfast at Tiffany's. It's that sort of thing, but it's a real simple way of doing that type of design. So again, I'm going in with a pin on the underneath, because remember, this is your base. Everything that you did in the elastic is your base, then everything else is just shooting into it. So by putting the pins in the bottom, what that does is it connects it with the base shape, and it means that they also sink in. Never open your pins up too much. Never go into a wide area and open a pin up like this, because what it'll do is it'll stay open, it'll just slide out. So it won't do you any good whatsoever. Coming around, you can see the hair sticking out, but coming around, pinning that in again, allowing that to fall, and then where all these little layers are, our wonderful C7 comes in, and you just use your fingers just to start moulding that, bringing it into place, and literally in a very few minutes you can get a really cool shape going on. It's got that real vibe of the 60s, but again, it works really well for now. If you want this flatter, I don't. I love big shapes. Then you can bring this down if you want it more towards the back. Although I think really these top knots really need to sit up high and be proud of the shape that they're forming. And so, a bit of spray. Again, if this was for an occasion and you're worried, one of the see-through nets could go over it, and then that'll hold it in place. But most probably you won't even need to worry about that. And this can be dressed up. You could put pins through the front. Again, very Holly Go Lightly. You can't even see that, I've got my clip in the way. But you could put that sort of thing in the front, or you could put in the back, or you can just leave it plain. There's lots of variations you can do with this, but it's a great shape which just builds up really nicely and is very classic. We've pulled it down a little bit so it's a little bit softer, but again, you could have this very, very tight. And no back, no rollers, just a ponytail. Back home well, but do it so that it spreads that shape out, and then wrap, hold the hair. Remember, it's like dough, you're pulling it into place, and then it will work into its shape for you. Great, classic, really works well. Hope you like it.